So, we're focusing, welcome back again, etc. We're focusing on one small item in the Parsha, as we usually do, and something that can hopefully help us with our Avodah. Oh, Shalom. This week, really, literally, Avodah in terms of the Avodah of Tefillah. Okay, so we find Yaakov Avinu comes, and he sees that there is a well, a be'er, v'ha'even gedola al pi ha'be'er. And there was a large rock on top of the be'er, on top of this well. Now, we'll start with the Sfas Emes. The Sfas Emes points out that grammatically it should have said ve'even gedola, a large stone was on the well. It says ve'ha'even gedola, the stone. Like this idea of a known stone was Gdolah, was big on top of this well. So he says, Chazal say in the Medrash that this Even Michshol, that this stone which is blocking, refers to the Yetzer Hara. Okay, now he says, we know the Yetzer Hara is everywhere. What's the Yetzer Hara doing over this well? So he says, even though the Yetzer Hara is everywhere, but al pi ha'be'er, by the mouth of the well, the opening of the well, he is there in a big way. Gadol b'yoser. What is that well? The well represents the well springs of tefillah that can come out of us. Okay, he says it also is connected to Torah Sheba'al Peh, meaning that which we have inside of us. We have inside of us the ability to daven. It's like a well, but he blocks it up with this big stone. Okay, we'll see how. Now tefillah is avodah shebelev. Okay, it's an avodah in the heart. But it's hard and it's blocked. That's why we begin with Hashem swasai tiftach ufi agiti lasecha, meaning help me, right? Help me open my lips, help my mouth say your tehillah. Now a person's thinking, okay, what's the big deal? My lips move, I have a nice sitter in front of me. But the lev, for the heart to be there. He says, Kol megamas hayetzer hara la'akev atfilo kayadua l'chol ovid Hashem. He says the entire purpose, the entire goal of the Yetzer Hara is to hold back, prevent, block tefillah. He says, as is known to every Ovid Hashem. I mean, I guess part of it is because all of us who try discover the great difficulty in davening with kavanah, davening from the heart, being there, being present, focusing. And he refers us to, as something brought in the Tikkun Zohar, an image which is the one who can defeat the serpent. Right? My title for this year, I use dragon, little poetic license, because we're used to slaying dragons. The one who can overcome the serpent will be able to marry the daughter of the king. Okay, what's that full quote from the Tikkun Zohar? Pasuk Rabbi Shimon Ba'amar, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai said, right, hurry and prepare money krava, your weapons of battle, to go against the snake. The snake, it has its nest in great mountains. And that snake killed Adam Kadma, killed Adam Arishon, right? In other words, brought death into the world. L'chol darin dahavu abasra. In all generations that came after Adam Arishon, we're still in the limitations of life and death that came in then. Ubeginda kroza nafik b'chol yoma. So therefore, an announcement goes out every day. Man de katalahu chivya, the one who can slay that dragon, who can kill that snake. The mekanana b'turin Rav Ravin, that has its nest in these great mountains. Yehovin le barta de malka, you will be given the daughter of the king. What is the daughter of the king? Who is the princess? The tzlosa, tefillah. Tzlosa is tefillah. The ability to daven. We all face this snake, this dragon, which is challenging us when we come to daven, and we have to battle it. We have to go to war against it, and only by overcoming it can we get to tefillah. And now he says something which it fascinated me, which was why I focused on this piece for this week. Vayeitzei, he says, ki ein eitzah la tefillah. He says, in truth, there's no eitzah, there's no solution, there's no magic bullet for tefillah. Rak, but he does give one thing. It depends on the way you do your avodah and everything you do during the day. Your ability to open your mouth, and again, mouth doesn't just mean the physical, it means to really bring out the tefillah from the well inside of you. That depends on what you do with all your maisim. L'chein kra'ua avoda shebalev, meaning you have to prepare and build something into your heart. Shetoli b'shtokakus alev b'chol hayom b'chol maisav. Says it depends on what your heart is yearning for all day in everything that you do. Okay, when you're going to work, when you're commuting, when you're resting, when you're going to the doctor, when all these things, what is your heart yearning for? What is your heart focused on? He says, if it is all focused on the Avodas Hashem, then, he says, you're able to open your mouth in tefillah. That's the hint when it says, V'nesfu shama kol hadorim, that the shepherds told them that when all the flocks gather, then we can get the stone off the well. All the flocks gathering means when everything you do in your life is unified, when you're not all dissected into different places all over the place, and wanting this and wanting that and etc. You don't have that unifying factor, so then he said you can't do it. But if you have the unifying factor, the result is tefillah. That is the tachlis hanolad mikol avodas. And it says Yaakov, when he came to remove that stone, it says vayigal, right? He like rolled it like a galei ayam kind of roll, and also reveal the water. Chazal gave an interesting mashal. It's like he took the stopper out of a barrel, right? You have a wine barrel, he just popped it out like a cork out of a bottle. Well, why did they pick that image? Right? What's there? He says, Ki atzadik yodea umevin. A tzaddik understands, Ki zeh ha'even hu tov l'shmira ma'ula. It's a good thing to have that stone which is blocking the tefillah, that you have to struggle. It is good that that snake is there that you have to slay. Ha'omed bachutz, someone who doesn't get it, someone who's standing on the outside, nidmelo kilu chas v'shalom mishamayim ma'akvinoso. He sees his difficulty in tefillah as if Hashem is preventing you from davening. It's holding you back. We've all experienced it. It's supernatural. You really want to focus on davening, right? And then, you bend down for the bracha, you say, oh, I better fill that prescription from my doctor for those painkillers for that problem in my back. While I'm there, I should probably also I have to call my wife and see if she filled her prescriptions, right? Oh, that means we have to make the doctor's appointment. Next thing you know, you're in modim, right? You're bending down again, and your back hurts again. It really is almost supernatural. It's not just the normal distractions. And that's what the Sfarim all say. So why does the tzaddik view it as good? He says, because, it protects that which is inside. Just like a wine barrel needs, what the bung they call it or something, that you need the covering to stop, right, foreign elements from getting in. Someone else thinks that this is rejection and that Hashem is putting a stone on his heart, but this is really for good, because you have to do that battle. And you have to discover the power of trying to unify everything you do so that you can finally marry the princess, that you can finally get the tefillah. Now, Reb Chaim Shmulevitz referred in a few shmuzin to this idea of taking the stone off, and he pointed out a fascinating thing from the piyut that we have for Geshem, right? The piyut that we say for rain. We refer to this incident. And this is the way it's referred to in kind of the piyut and the poetic way it describes. It says, oh, good evening, Sean. Right, hello. It says, Yichad Lev, he unified his heart, V'gal even mipi be'er mayim, and he rolled off the stone from the mouth of the well of water, Ba'avuro, right, because of him and his merit, Al timna mayim, do not hold back the waters that we need so much. Okay, now, Chaim was saying, this obviously isn't just Yaakov Avinu as being some kind of weightlifter or Superman, right? What schus is there in that? What merit is there in that? So he says it's all on that first phrase, Yichad Lev. He unified his heart. Now the way Reb Chaim takes it is he says that a human being has inside of himself powers and strengths that he's never tapped into, unless in extreme circumstances. It says there are stories of a mother lifting up a car if her child's foot was stuck under it or something. we have these powers, we usually don't tap into them. They can be physical powers, they can be mental powers, powers of concentration, different things that are there. If a person really cares about something, right? So then, right, if somebody told you there's treasure buried outside the shul right there, you wouldn't pay attention to the fact that you're tired, that it's cold outside, or anything like this. You'd be digging away. So this idea of the yichad lev, so it somewhat parallels what the Sfas Emes says. The Sfas Emes was talking more about unifying the different aspects of your life. Reb Chaim is talking about almost like a very powerful focus. When I was a kid, I used to play with magnifying glasses, burning holes in paper. When we did that, and to get it to go really good, you have that like point of light which comes through the magnifying glass, but you have to get it till the point of light is really focused, and then it's hard enough to go. So I heard the following story about Reb Chaim Shmulevitz from someone who heard it from the person who saw it. It was like the man who saw it, his name is Rabbi Perlman, I think. He's a Mashgiach in Or Samech. So he said the following. He said when he learned in the Mir Yeshiva, Shabbos morning, so everyone would go down to the Suda, and the Beis Medrash was basically empty. He was invited to someone's house, so he stayed on in the Beis Medrash. He was in the back someplace. The only other person in the Beis Medrash was Reb Chaim Shmulevitz. Reb Chaim was learning something with great intensity. He was pacing. At one point, he went up to the Aron Kodesh. He said, "Tate, help! Right, Father, help me!" Pacing again. Then he lit up, and he went over to the Aron Kodesh. He said, "Tate, adank, Father, thank you." Right? This was that ichad lev. Nothing else existed in his world. He wanted it with every ounce of his soul. And he was able to then break through all barriers and to release strength that others don't have. Okay, so it's there within us, and it's something that we can tap into. But I think the two relate, what he says and what the Sfas Emes says. The more a person focuses on that one goal throughout the day, throughout all their days. Mesilas Yesharim refers to this in the first chapter, where he says that a person has to know lema yosim maboto umagamoso b'chol asher hu omel kol yemei chayov. What a person's mabat, his outlook, and his megama, his like purpose, his goal, to what he should focus on with that in everything he does every day of his life. Meaning that a person who's involved in the same unifying principle in all aspects of his life, well, then tefillah will be a natural outcourse. Throughout his day, he's trying to get close to Hashem, he's trying to do Avodas Hashem, he's trying to fulfill his purpose in the world. And then the idea of standing before Hashem is like Rabbi Yehuda Halevi says, the high point of his day. That's what he's been looking forward to all the time, because that's what he's all about. So all of him is focused on that. Rav Hutner, in one of his beautiful letters, right, referred to this in kind of clearing up the confusion of one of his Talmidim. I'll try to, right, somewhat quickly read it. His Hebrew is beautiful. Now, we have to, they have these collections of letters of Gedolei Yisrael after they pass away, usually they don't print the letters that they're responding to, right? For reasons, I guess, of privacy or person, they take out the names, obviously, in his response as well. So you have to reconstruct what the person wrote, right? So you can never know 100%, but here it's pretty clear. Because, he says, I received your letter after you returned to Chutz La'aretz. HaEmes nidna le'amer ki harbe ne'nesi mikriyas michtov chazeh. Rav Hutner is writing to a Talmud who came back to Chutz La'aretz after having been in Eretz Yisrael. Probably when Rav Hutner was still in America, Tafshin Yud Daled, the early years. So first of all, he says, the reason I enjoyed your letter comes from two things. One is that the content and the style was arranged betuv tam v'das, right? This has become a lost art, writing a letter as it should be. Beis, he says, because you speak openly about the struggles in your soul. Okay? Anaftulim asher b'nishmasecha. He says, and I have to tell you that the struggles you're dealing with in your soul that you write about in your letter, their source is from a mistaken understanding of the matter you're speaking about. Tfisa mutas be'inyan hanidon. He says, the general impression that I get from your words is that it's like a given to you that having a secular career means that you have a double life. Okay, that's what the person wrote to him. He's gone into the workplace, and he feels he has a double life. He's in shul in the morning, that's one life. He goes to the office, that's another life. He goes back to his chavrusa, that's another life. He says, it should be unnecessary for me to tell you. Me'olam lo yisi maskim b'shum ofen la double life. I never would agree to such a concept as a double life. He says, somebody who rents a room in a house, right, to live his home life, and then he rents another room in a hotel to live as a tourist, so he has like a double life. But somebody who rents a house, an apartment with 2 rooms, he simply has a broad life, not a double life. He wrote that phrase in English. He used to mix those in. Right? He gives an example. He says, once I was visiting Yerushalayim in the hospital of Dr. Wallach, right, who founded Shaarei Tzedek. And I saw him approach a patient who was about to be going in for an operation. And he asked him for his name and his mother's name so that he could daven for him before the nituach. He said, when I told this, le'echod miyuchod ben gedoli Yerushalayim zatzal, to one of the special gedolim of Yerushalayim, I have a guess who that might be, but I'm not going to guess. He expressed, he said, Kama tzorich l'kanot biyudi zeh, how much you have to be jealous of this Jew. Sheyesh lo izdamnut kol kach gedola l'shamesh kli shoret l'chavod shamayim. He has so many opportunities to be like a vessel for kavod shamayim in the world. Huh? The doctor. The doctor. Right? So the patient helps. Right? Yeah. So he says, Hagido naliya emes ahuvi chavivi. He says, tell me the truth, my beloved, tell me. Ha'im amiras perek tilim l'shlomo shocholah ha'yidei arofe omed lasas anituach. Ha'im is a double life. Are you seeing there a person with a double life or unified life? And then he finishes with the explanation of the way we say Kriya Shema, right? One of the strange things we do is we stretch out the Echod in Kriya Shema. And Chazal say that one who stretches out the Echod, Amarich be'Echod, Ma'arichin lo yomav u'shnosov. So his days and years are lengthened. Okay? He says, what does that mean? He says, we are supposed to be living a life that is Echod. Echod v'lo kefal. A unified life, not a double life. Okay? Now, it's interesting, just I saw the story, a very special man, Mike Tress, Elimelech Tress, who did so much in so many fields, helping people during the war, after the war, building up Torah in America. And he really gave all his money to the causes, his strength. And he passed away relatively young. So I saw that a story that it said that during the Shiva, so many great rabbis came, and one of his daughters, I think, asked, she said, my father always got brachas from all the great people in the generation that he should be zocher to arichus yomim, to long days. And here he passed away in his 50s. So as the Kapishn Rebbe, I think he answered, he said, your father had more arichus yomim than anyone I know. Arichus yomim isn't an amount of days. It's what you do in them. Okay? If your day is unified, if it's all focused on what a Jew is supposed to focus, that is a very full day. Your years are very full. And he gives the following geometrical image. He says, imagine a whole bunch of dots on the wall, let's say. Many, many dots. So he says, all you have there is a ribui. You have many dots. But if you take that same amount of dots and you arrange them all equidistant around one central focus, you have one item, a circle. He says, that's the idea of echad. He said, you have to have this echad in the center of your life. And if you do, you don't have to worry about having a double life. Every new aspect of your life will simply broaden the circle and bring more points into it. But the fact that it's one doesn't change. Okay, he says, he thinks it must have been just like a momentary foolishness that got you to write that, and he encourages him to be strong and signs off, the one who prays for your success, Yitzchak Hutner. Okay, so that, I believe, is what the Sfas Emes is saying here. And what the Sfas Emes does is he creates the link between living that life and tefillah. We're not coming to tefillah with all my fragmented pieces of me, right? The me who wants this, the me who wants that, the me who's... all the many me's, you can't... But if you're able to come. And we do prepare before Tefillah and Shacharis and Ma'ariv with Kriya Shema first, right? With that idea of Echad, with trying to focus on what unifies us. Along with that, right, you can say also that the Arizal who said before davening you should have in mind V'ahavta l'recha kamocha, unifying with all Jews, right? So that is a key to tefillah. It's a tall order, but the more we can do it, and a lot of times we do, right? To be melamed zchus, like Reb Meir Premishlan said. He said, when a Jew's davening on Rosh Hashanah, you see him davening intently. If you scratch the surface of that davening, you know what you find underneath? Money. He wants money. He says, Zachrenu, money, whatever. Each person for what he needs. But, said Reb Meir, scratch the money. You know what you find underneath? Torah. Why does a Jew want money? Right? He wants money. You have to support your family. You have to support your community, your shul, right? Your different things. You have to buy matzahs. You have to buy arba minim. That's what he wants money for. Okay, so really it's there. Really, beneath it, we just have to realize we forget why we're doing what we're doing, right? When you're going to work and you're going shopping. Why are you going shopping? Need food. Why do you need food? Don't want to starve. Why don't you want to starve? What? Oh, because Hashem created me. I'm supposed to be doing something here, and I'm supposed to take care of myself. It all goes back to that echad, if you can. Simply wake yourself up to it and remember. Okay, so we'll finish in one other place. The Sfas Emes refers to it. Similarly, he says, this is just as Chazal say, "Agadol mechavero yitzro gadol emenu." Someone who is bigger than his friend and his companion, so his yetzer is even greater. When I was a kid, I didn't understand that. I thought, if that means if I want to see a movie I shouldn't be seeing, so that means Rav Yosef really wants to see that movie way more than I do. It just didn't make sense, right? So the answer is that it's a bigger, more subtle, higher level yetzer than what it is. The more a person grows, it's a very different order of magnitude. But he says that applies not just to a person, but to an avodah. He says, L'chein ve'esa tefillah. Tefillah is so powerful and so great. Mizgaber b'yoser yitzahar lebalbel machshava zoros. That's an aspect of gadol mechavero yitzro gadol imenu. When you prepare yourself and you stand up for tefillah, you're more gadol than the you when you're not davening. And suddenly you've got a whole new world of distractions and everything which is there. And that comes from this. I'll finish with the Baal Shem Tov, who says that it's true when you experience that inability to concentrate. You're somewhat feeling, so to speak, what they call the small dochet, the left hand of HaKadosh Baruch Hu pushing you away. When you say, he says, Baruch Ato Hashem, and you feel I'm actually standing here speaking to Hashem, and you feel it, you're experiencing the Yamin Mekareves, the right hand which is embracing. But he says, but realize, even when the left hand is pushing, number one, someone pushing you is very close to you. And the only reason you're being pushed is to wake you up so that the right hand can embrace you. Okay, so that's what's going on. It's a struggle. We have to battle the dragon, but it's Hashem with persistence and focus and unity, we can succeed.